Greetings. This is such a big deal into everything, that calling good evil and evil good and not discerning between the two. It really does take to receive from the Father things of spirit that the natural man does not receive, the things of the Spirit of the Father, to contrast the two and then go to war and start fighting this battle within. Father and Messiah fighting our battle within. I've been saying it a lot, but darkness doesn't comprehend light. Like we read, light came into the world, darkness comprehended it not. Darkness are the people. Everyone, just like the waters in Revelation, are the people. And the devil sends a flood to destroy the woman, which is his people. Well, the devil and his people, the waters, come for it, but the earth swallows up the water and helps the woman. The devil can't do what he really wants to do, which is utterly destroy the Father's people, Messiah's people. Because our Father is greater than he who is in the world. He who's in us is greater than he who's in the world. The Father's serpent, or rods, I guess I should say, the picture there, swallow up the Egyptians' rods to war. We can't win without him on our side and knowing him for real. None of the saints of old were spiritual yet. They were natural, and the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. And how does someone teach something that's spiritual? How do you do that? Spiritual heart, things that are real, that are not seen physically or touched. Well, we have all his word. Now he's got to give us the meaning. We have the stories, we have the pictures. That's how he does it. We have the parables, which all the stories are parables. Teaching something spiritual. Actually using his creation and real people to tell something greater that they didn't understand yet. But Daniel is sealed from Daniel. If it's sealed from a saint and the righteous, obviously it's sealed for those that don't know him, unrighteous. Sealed from even the saints. Daniel wanted to see more, but he couldn't, wasn't allowed. He's told so. And you take a good rest, Daniel. Your reward is coming at the end. First, there's a spiritual war. First, everything's got to become real. It's time to repent for real. He winked at sin in times past because there was no real repentance in times past. Just the outer as a teaching, just the cover, which is now religion. And it's wicked to be an old covenant saint when something greater has come. The Father in Messiah, in us, something greater has come, like Messiah says. If they saw these miracles, those wicked nations, he's teaching them how bad that their sin is even greater, but they think they're good. If they saw these miracles and things, they would have repented with sackcloth and ash. But something's greater has come, and they rejected the greater thing. That evil, Jerusalem, Pharisees, religion, was more evil. Not that the other wasn't, was more evil than the others, as an example of showing the great depth of evil and sin they were in. And that's what he's saying. This is what it means. They would have repented if they saw the same things. You guys aren't, and something greater has come. The sin is greater also. There's different levels, and all sin is sin and darkness, but you could go down further in the bottomless pit and do more evil than, that's a little bit higher in the bottomless pit. It's still darkness, still in the pit, but someone could be have sunk lower than another that's also sinking. Even the natural picture lines up with and proves and goes right along with the spiritual meaning. Fall in a giant pit, and it's all a pit, it's all sin. But on a bottomless pit, someone could be deeper along the way. That's the devil's way. The way, the Father's way, is not to be in a pit at all, but to be in light and becoming lighter and lighter, brighter and brighter. Man does not agree with or understand evil. He must hate the Father. He's teaching it over and over again. Genesis is teaching it. Everything is teaching it. All his word is teaching it. Man is the Father's enemy, let alone choosing him. It's just an abomination of a teaching because of how blind someone has to be to believe this. Wicked man doesn't choose the Creator when he's an enemy and viciously hates him and everything about his way. Someone that chooses their God, the Father has chosen their delusions. Religion has chosen their God, meaning they built their God and chose it. Matches the natural picture of what Israelites do, the many called, and Egyptians and everyone else, all the same. The same heart, different nations, different looks, different clothing, same heart. Mankind literally calls evil good and good evil about real things, the Father's things, continually. How is this treated in the church world? That's like going to come someday. Yeah, put it away, put it inside. No understanding of what it actually means, and just throwing it to something where it has nothing to do with us in the distant future. They got tricked by his letters, his word. Stumbling stone for those that don't seek him will stumble. Those that don't seek him will be deceived and have zero understanding while they think they do, hoping they do, needing to prove they do because there's an image to protect, the image of the beast. Their father, the devil, is the beast, the serpent beast in Genesis. Fiery words, because of the Father's word with power is exposing darkness, and darkness comprehends it not and hates it. It flees from the light, and anybody could look up and check or turn a flashlight on in the night. What does light have to do with darkness? Wherever light is, darkness is not. It must go away. Amazing picture. So everything in creation has meaning, all of it, that line up with the spiritual word. The Father's word is spirit. The Messiah said, my words are spirit. His words are all spirit, and they have this meaning, the heavenly meaning for the heart. And he received the words from the Father. Receiving the words from the Father, and Messiah says, my word is spirit. All the prophets that received his word, that received the Father's word, is also spirit, because it's the same Father and Creator that gave them the, inspired directly from the Father's word. Also spirit, but they didn't perceive the meaning. It was sealed. Zero understanding. Because Daniel is natural. Abel is natural. Zechariah is natural. Moses is natural. How do you stuff 10 commandments of stone into someone's heart? Commandments are permanent, but when it's written on stone, it's also on the outside, and it's cold, hard, and dead. It can't be molded or changed. Anything that's true will line up with the rest of his word. And so the stony heart, needs to be dashed to pieces. From the carnal man's understanding, this sounds wicked. Dashing to pieces. They think of murder. It's what they actually do. Breaking the stony heart is breaking their wicked heart, then giving them a moldable heart of flesh. This is the new covenant. Messiah's people, and nothing to do with religion. everything to do with hearing from the Father and Messiah and doing good works for real and learning what it is. To know what evil is, we have to know what good actually is, and darkness is not good. Darkness itself is darkness. Therefore, it has no clue what light is. It doesn't comprehend it, literally. So when darkness sees light, it judges it as itself is. It judges it as evil every time with everything that's true from the Father. When this is seen, something is wrong. False prophet is casting some kind of spell. It's deceived, receiving the power of Satan. It's not saying whatever right words it's saying with the actual understanding and meaning and love and care for the Father and His Word. It has a different meaning altogether. It's witchcraft. Because there's natural witchcraft that you can see and touch look like something. There's spiritual witchcraft. He commands His people not to do that. Everyone else in this world is. It doesn't matter that they don't know what it is. They do it anyways. That's what being deceived, blind, and delusional is. Don't know what you're doing, So in Proverbs, we read about like a drunkard becomes poverty. Drunkard is bad. But that's not the real meaning as it's written with letters. Because it's possible not to be a full-blown drunkard, literally, and a hater of our Creator and doing evil continually. Oh, but those words are right and true, what it says about what drunkards are. Spiritual drunk, the judgment from the Father, spiritual, giving them the wine of fornication back to them to make them spiritually drunk. True for everyone, at everything, at all times. But if the natural understanding is only understood, look how often it's not true. A lot of rich and famous people out there, although, probably a good many of them are drunk or at times, but I'm talking about full-on drunkards, and not everyone does that. It's wicked. But everyone that's spiritually drunk is doing evil, with no exceptions. His words are spirit. All His word is spirit. Everyone's running from the Creator into the trees to hide their nakedness, and desperately wicked to cover up their nakedness, which is to cover up their evil. They don't want it exposed or let it go. They like it, and they want to cover it. Spiritual teaching of what everyone is doing. All of a sudden, His word is perfect and true, happening all the time, everywhere. Constant prophecy, every minute of every day. His word is right, but the blind can't perceive it. They can't see the proof that it's right. They're the living example of continually deceived, covering up their nakedness as we speak. But we need help from the Father every day, everything. Because the natural man does not receive from the Spirit of the Father. But people go to church with the heart and belief of the wrong, perfect opposite thing, because they call evil good and good evil. The truth is, no one can receive truth or understanding from someone. A man here on earth must be given from above. But they go to church already living this as if they believe you can receive and be saved by men and taught by men. It's already being done with the works. Nothing has to be said. But how do you explain the works of what they're doing? Like this. Church world and the world already believes that they can be taught by men and receive from men. That's how you would say it, because the works are already doing it. It has nothing to do with what they say, but that's what the carnal man does to protect himself. It's only based on what they say, and if they don't say it, therefore they're not doing it. It's backwards and blind. We are only saying with words because of the reality of doing it, not just speaking empty, vain words. Whatever the works are doing, no one can say they're not with letters. It's nonsense. What does this look like naturally? The stupidity of this. A tree that's producing oranges, period. It's a fact. And we're saying, that tree believes such and such and is doing such and such because we see the fruit. It's already there. Therefore, it already has this understanding and belief in the heart because the works prove it, the fruit proves it. And then the tree says that they're not oranges, that they're not doing that. That's what it's doing. They're trying to say that to the Father's people while the Father's people see the oranges, and they're acting as if there's no oranges. With their words, they're saying they're not doing that because they don't say that. That doesn't work. There's already oranges there to act and believe and try to say there is nothing. A teaching saying words as if there is none, no oranges, is to be utterly blind and deceived, delusional. Anyone who loves not the truth is set a strong delusion, so that they believe a lie. Who doesn't this apply for? Is the Father partial? If someone doesn't love the truth, they're already spiritually drunk, wiped out, and delusional about everything, concerning everything that comes from the Father and His truth. It already is that because of this judgment. They're already in Egypt. Everyone was. How many of His people were not in Egypt? As a teaching in Scripture, 0. All of them were. They have to get out of delusion and Egypt's ways, the world's belief, ways, and works, and the hard bondage and not receiving wages. Cain not receiving from what he sows. That's the wages of sin, death, hunger, thirst, because he doesn't reward evil. So someone tries to go another way, whatever their works are, whatever they're doing to try to cover this torment, will not be accepted or allowed. The wages will not be given. They are hungry and thirsty, period, if they have love not for the truth and don't know the Father. It's already true. Who believes it? And it's true for everyone. It's already true for everyone. There's nobody He's not judging. It's already true that everyone starts in Egypt and was in Egypt, totally blinded and deceived. The Father prophesied that it would happen, and it did. He's in control. He said that they will go into slavery, and they did. And the many called are still in slavery. But at the last days, which, everyone that's in Messiah, that there would be a people, an ecclesia that's getting ready and actually doing His good works, but they're scattered. And the only way to be brought back is actually keeping His commandments, not according to the letter. Jerusalem was destroyed. Keeping it perfectly according to the letter, it still would have been destroyed. Their hearts were far from Him, breaking all the laws and commandments in their heart. So then the commandments are a guide to Messiah. We need to agree with them already first that this is what sin is. And then He needs to teach us personally, each one, how to do this in the heart. And then when the inside is cleansed, it will be what it needs to be eventually on the outside. Because to break the outside thing it's a connection. But because it's not the true thing, it's a shadow. Keeping it according to the letter doesn't prove that someone's doing good by itself. Just like the apostle, zealous for the law, perfect concerning the law, murdering Messiah's people with a wicked heart. And I'm not saying that from the perspective of carnal men. They think they're better when they call something wicked. This is all for us, each one a chief of sinners. Chief of sinners, even though he was a Pharisee, well studied, you'd have to believe. I mean, he's not lying. He knew the law. And then the Father woke him up. And it helps to have something like that in you, but it's worthless without the Father giving us good works and actual meaning and teaching and power to do it. At least he had a bunch of letters probably memorized, but that's no good by itself. They don't have this meaning in the church world that the letters kill, because they're examples of carnal and only believing in letters. Their works prove it already. And that's what everyone is first in Egypt. But more and more, the only thing that makes sense is you know them by their fruit. Talk about the actual works we see. And when an orange tree produces oranges and someone says, I never said that, I never do that, I never say that, their words are trying to convince us that it's not oranges, for example, here. Their words don't match the works. They're saying, and they think they can trick the Father and his people. And the only reason his people is because of discernment given by the Father. Otherwise, well, hello, we all were already deceived. This is coming out of Egypt. We need discernment to see what deception is, Father. So anytime I would say such and such already believes such and such way, I'm only speaking according to the works anymore. The actual proof. But it's no proof to someone that's blind. So when they say, I'm not saying that, we don't say that, this is the secret leaven, that everything they do and say it's not what it actually means. People are eating unclean food and that spiritual meaning is in them. Contradiction, the leaven is in them, the evil. So only knowing them by their work, we have to see it. You have to ask him to see, beg him to heal, so that the blind can be healed. As long as someone is saying they can see with their heart, as long as their heart is saying, I'm not blind, who cares what they say? Because no one can mock the Father. That's the real thing. Someone says, no, I'm blind. I was blind, because they have to now, because they're trapped. They'll do that and lie. But what's in the heart? Oh, I'm not blind. I'm not blind. Yeah, that's the real thing the Father sees. Therefore, whoever says they can see are made blind. That's the judgment. It's pretty scary. Scares me. And those who say that they're blind are made to see. And the only way anyone could see is when they're blinded by his light first. To see that they're blind, they have to see a little tiny bit that they're blind. And one way to see that you're blind without darkness, it's interesting, the Father's perfect, is to blind you with the blinding light, his power and light, his spirit presence. And it blinds you with light so that you could see you're blind. And then his spirit, just a little bit of discernment, a little bit of revealing. Well, I was blind. And then the apostle received sight again. See, that is happening to all his saints. That's not the important thing, a literal thing. It's for our benefit, the picture, a natural thing, so that we see. And the meaning is given, then it's valuable. It's always happening to all his people. It's just like that. That picture's perfect. When he reveals himself, it's like instant awe and wonder of, you're real? Is that you? It's like a little son, like remembering who the Father is, he was lost. And then that's why the apostle says that. Is that you? He didn't know him. Zealous for the law without knowing Messiah's worthlessness. It's carnal, it's evil. Agreeing with the commandments because of what they mean. If you ditch the commandments, how does someone have anything spiritual? That's the foundation. That's what sin is. someone in the spirit, their flesh is not required to do it because it can't. So walking in the spirit is just having the Father in us doing the works so that we keep the laws and commandments in the heart. And we learn and grow and do this better and better. And the old man dies more and more. Okay, I got an order. I can't wait too long right now. So everything that's spiritual, the real meaning that the Father has to show that he cares about, there's a picture of what it looks like if it were to be manifested naturally. When someone murders with their heart, they're grabbing a knife and stabbing them 13 times, rebellion, quickly, like in jail, and slitting their throat. That's what the Father sees when someone does murder to someone, even enemies, of course, anyone. That's murder. This world does not see that or agree with that. It can't. Because tomorrow, even saying I'm spiritual, I agree with that. It murders people tomorrow without repentance. It does not see it. It does not agree with it. It does not love it because everyone's an enemy of the Father first, and everyone still is without him. No carnal man could love him first. That's why we read he loves us first. No one chooses him first. That's why Messiah says, you did not choose me, I chose you. And those that were given to him ultimately by the Father to choose. Not even Messiah's actual choice. And yet it is his choice. All those that the Father gives me, see, the Father gives him, then Messiah chooses. Just like saying my word, he said my word, but then he says my word is not my own. It's given to Messiah to be his word, but it's the Father's for real. And it's Messiah's because he has it. This would be true for anyone that has the Father. You know, religion, he who hath the Son hath eternal damnation and no life. He who hath the Son hath life. You know, they don't know what they're talking about. That means something. You can't just say the words and agree to it, run and do evil and say you're a saint. Just because I agree to the words and say that, everyone else is wicked. Oh, abomination, wicked, wicked world. They don't agree with Jesus, but I do. What does that have to do with works? Nothing. It's utter foolishness to think we're righteous because of saying words. It doesn't exist. Let each one be convinced by the Father in their own mind. I'm only giving what I see now, not requiring anything or pointing fingers like the carnal do. Because I'd be the ultimate monstrous hypocrite if I said I was better or something. That I figured this out of myself, which is not true, in like 2 days. No, there's no condemnation for anyone that doesn't know, as long as they're in Messiah for real. There's no more condemnation. We'll know them by their works. Someone just says the words and I got doctrine, therefore I'm in Messiah. We believe in the salvation of all, and you could sin as much as you want. They don't know Messiah because the Father's people are being perfected to set apartness. No one can see the Father apart from holiness, set apart. Well, those are the Father's works making us set apart, but it has to be done. That's why we know them by their works. They're always going to be lying. The works stand out and say something. How hard is it to see fruit on a tree with physical eyes? That's how hard it is for the Father's people when he gives the sight to see other people's works. That's how difficult it is to see their works, the spiritual hidden works. Because of what the Father gives, no one can point the finger and say we're saying this out of pride, because the teaching is not pride. It was given. There is no pride in the teaching. It's not our own. They can make claims all they want. That's what they do. Their teaching is their own. It's their pride, and they do it to be seen and glorified and worshiped by men. They speak of themselves. This doesn't mean that we just do it right and understand what we need to on day one. That because we understand this teaching, it means we never have failed. That's nonsense. Or never will make a missing of the mark sin. Nonsense. They falsely accuse, as the devil is a false accuser. It's what it means. And so all the devil's children can only falsely accuse light, because to the impure, darkness, all things are impure, including everything that's good, everything that's the law and commandments that mean something from the Father. That's all good and righteousness. To impure, darkness, all things are impure. Did they think this had no meaning in the church world? Powerful meaning that's always true, all the time. But to the light, to the Father's people, Father himself is light. To light, the pure, all things are pure. This isn't talking about what sin is or not, or teaching to sin or not. When we see good, and whatever good is, it's pure. When the wicked see good, it's perversion to them, and always usually ends up being sexual perversion. You know, but are you gay? Because you're not a slave boy like me that got deceived by my woman who hates me and controls me, and I'm just a slave to sin and my woman. What are you, gay now? You know, this is what they'll do. We're no better, that, you know, but that's what's going on, though. You know, when darkness is still darkness, it says these things, and I'm finding out more and more everything it does is cowardly and a lie. The devil is a lie and a coward. There is no truth in him. They make themselves sound wise to protect their own cowardness and nakedness. Every time they breathe darkness when it judges, it's doing it to protect itself, because it's a coward. Runs from the light. So because of this is true, we're not allowed to say it. Because this is offensive to mankind, we're not allowed to say it. There's a right way of doing everything, and there's a wrong, evil way of doing everything. And mankind and the church world and beast are the examples of everything wrong, including us first. That's supposed to not look back to that. Don't they believe the scripture? Don't look back. Don't go back to Egypt. Don't look back to what I'm judging and destroying, the Father is saying. What should we talk about then? Things of light and good, and who the Father is and what he needs us to do and gets us to do. What do they want us to talk about? Darkness, like they do? Everything his people say will be prideful to the wicked, because they're prideful, and they say it to try and shut you up because they hate it. And that's a lie right there to do that. That's trickery. That's sneaking around playing games. It's time for the children to wake up, you know, for those in Messiah. They don't play these games, and they'll be rewarded by the Father right now and to come. They'll be rewarded right now. And the more someone sees, the better they can keep his commandments, because we're transitioning from Egypt, which is revenge, vengeance. You'll find out. I know anybody in Messiah, confident they will know and find out that the Father's vengeance is the perfect thing. And that's the only way. Seeking our own vengeance, seeking vengeance, for if we do that, we're punished, and it will not satisfy. You know, like people want that satisfaction to cure the itch. The Father gives the wicked an itch they cannot cure. Why do they think they read that? They're itching, and there's nothing they can do. Scratch, 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 and it still itches. It's because that itch is a sin. And doing sin doesn't cure the itch. You know, it's not the oil, it's not the healing, the Spirit, the Father, anointing. Amazing. So yeah, someone could receive some kind of problem physically, but that's not what those words really mean, because that's not true all the time, everywhere, with everyone. But spiritually, he could judge someone however he does, but that's not the real meaning. The real meaning is always right and true for anyone in darkness, all times. So there's an itch to do evil and seek vengeance. They do it, which is scratching it to work. Scratching is working. The itch is itching. And when they scratch their itch, it's not cured, it's punished more, and more itches come. Crazy. That's what we get stuck in, a loop of doing evil. Punish it more. It's a circle of death. And maybe that's why they like the serpent eating its own tail, because the devil is so prideful. He likes revealing who he is. In a delusion, people think they're good. They're proud of evil. But it's mixed with punishment and confusion at the same time. It's supposed to be confusing and blinding, for anyone doing evil continually that doesn't know the Father. And I can't do any good works, neither can anyone else of themselves. They're supposed to rest from their works, because the flesh can't do anything that the Father requires, the spiritual law. And if someone's understanding unclean food, for example, since that's like a big thing around everywhere, and I remember not seeing it myself at all, if they really see the power of this and what it means and what it does when we eat unclean food, which is words, lies, spiritual words, false doctrine, eating it, it gets inside of us, and that's what we are. If there's a secret meaning that's evil, and we eat those words, that evil thing is inside of us, we'll do the works that line up with it. That's why Messiah didn't eat pork. That's why. That's the higher thing. That's the real meaning. And if someone doesn't understand earthly things, how could they understand heavenly? He said to the great teacher, so-called. Yeah, we shouldn't do that. But stopping that natural thing and thinking we're good because of it is not righteous. First of all, we can't do any good work. Second of all, even if we kept it like that, that doesn't make us righteous, because still breaking it in our heart, what it really means. See, that thing becomes worthless now, sad face, because it's not what it means. But if we keep it because we keep the spiritual law, well, now these two agree, and there's no contradiction or hypocrisy. For example, someone says, I don't eat unclean food spiritually, someone trying to get out of a corner in church world. If they were to say, yeah, I keep that spiritually. Literal food don't matter, I keep it spiritually. And they eat literal unclean food. It's a lie. How do you say I don't? And if we see the work spiritually that they do, when they say that, they're lying also. They're sucking in and eating false prophets' words. That is the breaking of the law. To actually eat it and believe it. Stay away from the unclean food and thing. See, so when someone says it to like get out of a corner, it's just to get out of a corner. I'm not saying we go and corner people. I'm just saying for a picture. They will get cornered, though. It happens, like Pharisees got cornered when they were passing by Messiah. He exposed them. His light is always exposing darkness. They all say whatever they need to, which is a lot of lies someone's willing to do to protect their image and their doctrines, traditions, and church system. And why there's nothing better than knowing the Father and receiving from him and Messiah anyway. Forget everyone else, including me. Each one has to get the food and teaching from him. And then what can happen is those in the body of Messiah, they can exchange and eat together, see, and eat a clean food. And maybe one learned something because they heard something the other has that came from the Father and not man. And that's the real way of doing it. That's why the apostle says, don't even eat with such a one. That's making an image for a brother, a believer, and then they do wickedness. Because to eat with the wicked is to eat their works, is to be them. We will be them. The punishment for not being set apart is to become evil or fall and get trapped and seduced and tricked and everything, not to even eat with such a one. If that were true for sinners at all times, we would have to be removed from the world. There's a wrong way and a right way, and there's times that are different than other times. You can't become one with the sinners either. It has to be set apart. You can't be one the same way their buddies are one. But yes, you can eat with them. If the Father, boom, here it is, here's a situation. And then maybe they ask you something, you give, whatever he tells you to do. You don't become one with them. But watch out, because they'll want you to be one with them. And when you don't, they'll say you're evil. The devil's trying to suck the elect in. The people will want you to become one. These things will happen. They'll want to they'll want to be friends with you, real close. And if they don't see that, if they see set apartness, they will murder you and condemn you as an evildoer for doing good, because they call evil good and good evil. So does the harlot. The harlot, when it sees you being set apart from the ways of the world that they're attached to, will condemn you as an evildoer. No one knows Messiah's people that are blind. They don't agree with them. They're in vicious hatred and enmity towards the Father. Don't be confused, he said. They don't hate you, for your sake, because you're good or something. They hate you because they hate the Father first, and then Messiah. That's the order. Never coming from self. There is no selfish teaching. No one that's in darkness can claim the Father's truth is selfish, because it literally is given. All of it's given. None of it is our own. What will they do? Because they have to. Act as if it's not your own, so they can condemn you, because they hate truth. So let them do it. Let it be. That has to happen. That's a lot of tribulation, isn't it? If these things are actually real for someone, becoming real in real life, they're in Mickey Mouse kingdom land. There's nothing real. That's just words, swelling words everywhere. No reality to any of their doctrine, even though it's a false doctrine. It's like they never talk about what works are. What about the works? Works are from the heart. Adam ate fruit. The fruit is the works. That one little example in teaching is teaching anything and all that's evil. All evil works by saying Adam ate the fruit and Eve did. And something spiritual that's understood. Teaching always true for everything at all times and applies to everything. What? We're not Adam and Eve. We chose the right fruit. It's not about the fruit, literally. And yet it is, in a way. The fruit are the evil works. So the serpent gets Adam and Eve to do evil works. That's the point, because the actual evil work is not important. The wicked will make it important and then say you're talking about that. We're talking about the sin under the hood. The engine is broken. They're talking about the hood so that they can change their clothes. And you know why we read that? I didn't know. I thought it was just funny. And then it hit me not even long ago. Speaking of whatever we're reading, and all of a sudden, they strip some guy's cloak and he runs off naked. And that's it. That's all he says. Why was that included in the scripture? Because the wicked want to expose someone's sin and nakedness. They're desperately wicked to strip someone, and so they can laugh because they are that, and they fear whatever they don't know. And they do this out of the Father's punishment and judgment, without the proper fear, but a cowardly fear of good, instead of fearing the Father the way we need to. They will strip your clothes and try to, so they can point a finger and say you're evil just like them. And when they prove it in their own mind, you're evil and they're not. For them proving you're just like them. You're only evil, not them. That's how bad it is. Welcome to Babylon, you know. I'm losing my mind. I guess for Messiah. I think I read that somewhere. His word is so true, I don't even know what to do sometimes. Just blow up or something. It's perfect. Almost too perfect. It's a little scary. But when they say there's no contradictions, they don't know what they speak of. Talking about letters, and there's a lot of contradictions with the letters. It's utter foolishness. You know, don't blame them. It's just that they're not acknowledging they're deceived and blind. So they remain like that. And so anyone that's not that for real can have an actual thanks for getting them out of Egypt and needing to continue. So it's a real appreciation, real worship, because it's real. There's nothing real about choosing our own God. There was no actual escape from Egypt and actual life and blessing for those that aren't escaping Egypt. It's fake. Therefore, they have to fake what's real continually. This is slavery. Jump up and down if someone doesn't have to fake it. And that's some serious hardcore slavery. Only want to see them get out of slavery. And they'll do you evil for wanting you to get out because they hate it that you're out of prison. Messiah came to set the captives free. What do they think that means? Underground somewhere, pagan spirits floating around under there, hellfire and brimstone under there. He wasn't actually dead, like scriptures proclaim, and Messiah saying, I was dead. You know, I was alive, but now I'm alive. Forget it. Time to get out of there forever. You can't make sense of confusion. It's so messed up that even natural things, everything doesn't make sense. Where do you start? Where do we start? Oh, I better get going. It could have been like 30 minutes and it might have been. I think there's something real about losing, like time being warped. What does that thing do? Time's like, it doesn't seem the same sometimes, but like when doing this or just meditating on anything, that's true from above. Maybe it's just a little taste, a little piece of a day is like 1,000 years, you know, not actually like that as if we're the creator, but just maybe just a little piece of that right now or something. Like something, there's something real about it. You know how hardcore of a claim is that he's showing his people? I mean, it's abomination to everyone. He utterly proves with the teaching for his people. Their works, what he gets us to do is proving the truth and pure teaching, good doctrine. He says, I'll give you good doctrine. That they, all of them, don't do the things they do because of the intentions of those that don't know him. You know, the works prove it. You know, everyone's desperate to be worshipped and need to be need. And all the works the Father's doing is proving the opposite of this. You know, and then they'll, like I said, when they judge, it's not seen. It's not seen. It's a false accusation because darkness to darkness. And that's why he's giving me the pictures. And you know, if someone's seeing the spiritual thing, the picture helps even more. The picture's already there, but we need to give in. To the impure, all things are impure. When they see good, anything that's good, true, real love, truth, anything from the Father, it's impure and darkness to them and perversion to them. That's what the apostle's saying. To the pure, all things are pure, because he's not talking about breaking his commandments and saying sexual immorality is pure because all things are pure to us, you know. Once again, unable to see and rightly divide. Therefore, the teaching is an abomination. The actual understanding is an abomination still, you know. So I know that's not the understanding in there. The guy's crossing the road here. That's what this is, and it needs to be perceived. And I remember like starting to see this. Wow, you know, if only people would admit they don't know what that means, but they sure make an act for it in the religions. If we're just honest with him, he'll give us whatever we need. If we were just honest with him, because he doesn't deal falsely. If we lie, he'll lie. Not actually, but he'll give us a judgment, a punishment that will become as if it's a lie for us, you know, tricked. If we deceive, he deceives us, you know. But how does someone in the church world talk like this? It doesn't sound good that their God deceives people. They can't speak truth, but I'm not saying he does that with some kind of wicked heart. And yet they can read all the simple scriptures. Because for everything that's true, he's shown me there are simple verses to confound the wise that will prove they don't believe the thing they're speaking of. One of them is, I, Yah, will send that prophet a delusion. I will choose. They chose their abomination, so I will choose their delusions. Would they think there's no reality to that? The man himself didn't choose it. That's the scary part. The delusion. It's evidence of his powerful judgments. There's a lot of scriptures about praising the Creator. I think I'm starting to see why, you know, and you can't fake real until it comes in. You can't fake real. There's the devil's way, which looks like praise, tries to look like praise, but there is none. And then there's the real praise that looks like praise because it is. It's not a deception or a trick. The inward matching the outward. That's the only right way with his laws. If they don't match, something's wrong. And of course, they're not going to match, even for his people on day one. But this is no more condemnation. It's going to match. It's the goal. Now, the wicked, there is no matching at all at any point, nor is there any want to. They don't understand his favor. They're requiring of people to, like, what, be sinless in one day? Like no mistakes ever again? Why is that hard? Why am I seeing that hard? Because the truth is the opposite. That's why. Truth is the opposite. They see evidence of real change that's like sin or something. Well, here's deception I have, you know, to admit all kinds of things, but here's one example. I thought the way that it thought, because that's what everyone does in Egypt. It's all the same, where even after believing and for quite a bit of time, it was already in the heart, sort of just thinking, yes, we're of the truth because we say certain words and doctrine. And it has nothing to do with truth, but I thought it did. Started seeing the evil of it, but I already had to be that and live it. And now if I would require the same for another believer, that's what everyone was already first. How do they require of a little plant to be a tree if it's not a tree, you know? Everything that's stupid, a lie, is also stupid and evil. And then if there's a giant tree, you know, you go back and forth like that. That's all. You can't require a plant that's been alive for like 30 days and say, why isn't this stupid thing a giant tree already? You know, see how that stupid that is? Carnal man's doing that with his works from the heart. And that's why all those scriptures start coming alive then about the stupidity and foolishness of evil, constantly saying it's evil and stupid and not seeing what it means. You know, literally not seeing what stupid means. The Creator saying, look, this is stupid. We don't know what it means though, until he shows us. It's the truth. It's very nice not to protect an image.
Very good not to have to like look good all the time. They might see, oh, I can't look like that. That's a sin. And we're talking about evil we do and sin constantly. And they're hiding from it perfectly, you know. So what will happen? What will you see? What someone will see at some point in their life. You don't even have to think about it. That's how the Father does all those genuine things in us. And then maybe he'll show you to look back what happened. So often that happens where you might just say something without even thinking about it, about some kind of evil or deception or lie. And you say it casually like that. And those friends who you think you're friends, they freeze, look at you fear. They might go, something's wrong with him. How could he admit that he's done such a stupid, evil thing? Steal from a store. Yeah, I've done it. Yeah, I did it. And guess what? I didn't get away with it ultimately. I don't know. I was like 18 or something. It was some stupid thing for some stupid reason, you know, very stupid. And I said that once without thinking about it. So somehow that was close enough to whatever was being said. And then I see the reaction. I'm like, you know, before I wouldn't have known anything about this reaction that he's showing me. They're reacting like that because they can't do that. They can't just freely do that. That's what they're hiding from constantly, sin. Even natural things. Because they perceive the Spirit of the Father in you, freely speaking, honestly, which is not what people do, with no other intention. And it shocks them. They call that evil. Can you believe it? They call something that's truly good, acknowledging sin, evil. Will they say those words in church? No, they won't say the words like that. Their works prove it, though. Their reaction and heart proves it. And so I've found out, and I'm finding out, his word is not talking about what people say. I mean, it could include that, of course, but what he's really talking about is what the heart's already doing. So it's very dumb for an orange tree to produce oranges that produces oranges. Say that there's no oranges. I'm not an orange. It tries to convince us like that, and we're in disbelief. It thinks it's wise, trying to make you look stupid. His people know that's the difference, and then they walk away, murdering from the heart, condemning, condemnation in the heart for good. We don't even have to do that because the Father's already condemned everyone who doesn't believe. It's already condemned. Leave it alone. Don't do evil to it. And then there's a reward. And if we don't do that, we break all his commandments, because doing evil to an enemy breaks everything. What doesn't it break? And it's the ultimate hypocrisy, you know. That is the war, that is the testing and path, getting us to do real good works to people who hate you for real and do evil for real to you who's doing this. I already know it's impossible because of something I see that the natural man just doesn't want to do, can't do. Just admit it. But if you admit defeat, how do you win? You know, it's contradicting to this world. If you destroy your soul, how do you live? Well, you could tell them, come, taste, see. What does it mean for them now? We walk away knowing they don't understand it, hoping they will, because of the Father's mercy, that's all. When that started coming in, it was a real eye opener. Wait a second, Father, are you telling me no one can understand what you say? No one will believe it, and they'll all hate everything that's true? Everyone that doesn't know you? Yeah. Why am I doing this? You know, there it is, revealing the beast, false intentions. All right. Peace, take care, seek truth from above. Gotta go.